Hello, everyone out there. My name is William, and my friend Tahlya is here. We're having a conversation
Hello.
about spiritual type stuff. And so, first of all, just to let you know that we're all just regular people in here. We get born into a world, and we have mundane parenting and whatnot from Toledo, Ohio, and I went to chiropractic school, became a chiropractor, a doctor, and was working with my patients, and I was really astounded when I watched how they didn't really care that much about their health. They just wanted to be out of pain. I was like, well, they don't seem to want that, and so I was like, well, what do they want? I wanted to do nutrition and everything like that. And I was trying to help people and trying to make money and pay back these student loans. It became kind of crazy. And so I found, later that when they really, I guess what I found is that people want spirit, and they look for it in weird places, like you know, sexual practices or drinking or drugs of some sort. And there's a lot of dead ends out there, a lot of blind alleys. And so when you kind of search those out and realize you're blind, then you start looking in other places. And so we're here to kind of go into some of those other places. And if this is of any interest to anyone out there, it'd be great to share. And also just something that, 10 years from now, this might be recorded and I'll be like, wow, that was a nice insight I had, and then maybe rediscover something in myself. So there's reasons for what we're doing, but if it's valuable to people, I'd love to be able to share it.
Well,
Talia, what's up?
all right. So my name's Talia. I think that sometimes people actually do find themselves in sexual practices that release their spirit side, or even through drinking, or super lows and super highs and stuff like that.
So you're saying that some of these practices can lead to an awakening?
Absolutely, but I think it's different for different people. So I think, this is supposed to be dipping into different spiritual practices to help different people find the connection, the one. So just a little bit about me. My name is Talia, and I am a spirit seeker. I don't have any schooling much except for maybe music. I am definitely a light worker, and I'm a music lover, and I'm sure we'll get to talk about music a little bit because Will likes to reference a lot of Deep Purple and stuff like that.
Like, they're not that deep, but maybe a little bit. But
yes,
I
yes,
do. I love to.
band.
I love to go to these. But one thing for you though. I mean, just looking at from what I know of you, being as we've hung out a long time, that you have certain influences online and also books that you really enjoy. And so maybe that would be something that would say, hey, this is where I'm riding at. So which author, or maybe which person online, or is there
There's
just
so
a
many.
certain book that's just been really inspirational for you? Maybe Course in Miracles or something.
A Course in Miracles is a big one. Right now, I'm really into Louise Hay, or not Louise Hay. I really like Louise Hay, but I'm actually into Abraham.
Hicks.
Abraham Hicks. Esther Hicks. So I'm
Esther
really
Hicks.
into listening to Abraham being channeled by Esther Hicks right now, and that's something. In fact, I just listened to an interview where Abraham interviewed Wayne Dyer, and this is in 2013. But I thought that was a really interesting interview, and I can almost see like Wayne Dyer when he was being interviewed by Abraham, and just the connection and the different parts of discussion. He was almost like a little boy. And I don't know, like I've never seen that aspect of Wayne Dyer. I've always, read his books, and he's the wise one.
Quite
and
mature, yeah.
Yeah, like he's mature and stuff. But for some reason, like when I saw the interview with Abraham, and like the responses that he was getting from Abraham, I saw that little bit of like ego and a little bit of nervousness and a little bit, and I saw him definitely trying to connect with spirit, and he was doing it, but it was just interesting because he would always go back to these certain examples or these certain justifications that she would just kind of wave off, and she'd be like, no, that doesn't matter. And he'd be like, well, but,
So that's cool. Now, a lot of people out here know Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks. And just for people that don't, Abraham Hicks is this woman named Esther who is channeling the spirit of Abraham. And some folks really buy it and some folks don't. And I'm not necessarily, I mean, I think it's great. I love what I see coming from her.
Yeah, like I don't think she's ever been like off. At least that I've done my research and stuff. So she gives really good answers, and it's all, but she sticks to her thing. Like the Abraham Hicks really sticks to the law of attraction. Like deviating from the law.
Rockets of desire.
Yeah, going with the flow, stuff like that. But deviating from the law of attraction, I haven't really seen any other aspects of her.
She really, what you want is what you're going to, what you want is what you're going to get.
And so it's really, it's like super simple to stay in that for her. She's like, you got to stay in the vortex. If you're in your vortex, you got to know what's in your vortex. You know, make sure you know what you're resisting, what you're not resisting, and all that stuff, so you can get kind of more into the flow instead of going against the current kind of thing.
One cool thing that you were mentioning was that, Wayne Dyer, I mean, like you said, he's been around a long time in spiritual circles.
Rest in peace.
And is he gone? Did he die? I didn't know he died.
Yeah,
Holy
he died
buckets.
of leukemia.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean,
year ago.
Maybe he had his rockets of desire towards getting off the planet, But what's cool is that if you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, if this is truly Abraham coming through and it's just old Wayne Dyer talking, well, you would see that there would be this natural hierarchy, or maybe a holarchy is what they like, the term they like to use, where she just goes, no, this is how it is, and even though he's very, very, how should we say? I mean, he can hold his own. Well, he used to be able to.
No, and he was holding his own, but I think he's just like maybe he wasn't.
He was in the presence of a greater being in a way, right?
Well, and Abraham was even saying, like, you were here, you were placed on this earth. Your purpose was to write all these books and to touch all these people and to open these people's eyes and stuff. So I mean, he was definitely a great soul that needed to be lived so that we could have all of his books and stuff like that. I mean, Esther Hicks is just, she's channeling this being. And it's just like, I don't know if I can say this, but, Abraham is no bullshit. She's like, you know what, like, this is the way it is. And she's interrupted so many people during her interviews. like, I know what you're going to say, don't say it, this is what you need to hear. And she was kind of doing that with Wayne Dyer, even though I felt like she had a little more patience with Wayne Dyer than she does with most people. Because it was like a 2-hour interview.
Nice. Well, I'm sure he was helped by it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he got a lot of clarity from that, and I think that, because, he always goes off on, like, the forgiveness of his father. You brought up the subject of that you met, you called me and you said you met the devil.
This was last night, for God's sake.
And you said it was good that you met the devil.
It was good because I recognized that I had been meeting him without recognizing it, thinking that the qualities of consciousness that could be associated with devil or demonic or whatever you want to call it, I tended to ignorantly claim as my own instead of something that's outside of myself. And so that quality of ignorance seemed to just kind of roll away from me, and so I was able to kind of go, okay. So I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling maybe some frustration or something, and it was like a vision of something outside of my own person was literally manipulating those buttons in a way, creating that quality that I claimed as my own. I'm just a little nervous, Nancy, here. And what you get a freedom from this chair is falling apart. So I was ready to collapse the chair. And so you get this freedom with that realization that it's not you. I am light. I am whole. And this divisiveness is an outside influence in my life as opposed to, say, part of myself. Now, I can make it part of myself. It's my option. It's my prerogative. In fact, that's that freedom of choice that kind of comes in with all of us. And so I just am still kind of recognizing it, but the immediate response was, get out of here. I mean, I don't want you around. Just be gone and be away from my life. And yet I'll be sleeping or some other kind of something will come up, or, wake up or have a dream or anything like that. And what'll happen is this little voice inside of my head, and this is weird, it's not even a voice per se, it's just a feeling arises, and there's a thought that kind of comes with the feeling. And I go, you know what, I don't really own that. That's not even my true nature. That's just this something that somehow has just appeared in my person. Now, I can go into all the existential stuff of how this is still all quality of oneness, and that we all have this freedom of choice involved. And it's very difficult to really completely delineate what's happening here, but that's why we're having the conversation, right?
Okay, so you're saying that this isn't a part of you because you're light.
Okay. So are you ready?
Well, no. Okay, so what I'm saying is, this is pretty much ego versus spirit, right? Like, this is a part of you that maybe you didn't see, but has always been a part of you since whatever happened, possibly in childhood, that you decided to cling to this.
Okay. Now, that is a very, astute answer as far as spirit is concerned. You claim it all for your own person.
Right.
And what I find is that perspectives become very important.
Absolutely.
And so a perspective of it being outside of myself is more helpful to how I'm functioning.
Right. So you can be more objective of what's going on.
And then maybe start actually creating a life that works.
Right. Well, the first step is to be aware of it. It's just like the alcoholics, the 12 steps. Like, you have to own it, and you have to just be aware of it and be like, all right.
Give it up to the Lord.
Well, then there's more steps.
Yeah, I think that's step 3, isn't it?
But I think, will you share exactly what it was that you saw?
Okay, so...
Or give us an example?
Well, I get overwhelmed, and this is part of my background that will probably eventually come out. I tend to feel that I'm mildly autistic, and of course I blame the immunizations for it, and that's maybe a whole podcast in itself. I don't want to even go into it.
Yeah, no, we'll do that later.
So, but I have this quality of consciousness, and in order for me to stay sane, I have self-protection mechanisms that awaken for me, or that I've utilized. And so one of those was playing video games, and I'd like to replace that because it's it tends to give me tunnel vision. I tend to get super hyper-focused on it. I think I'd rather hyper-focus on a beautiful meditation. Maybe do some working out or something like that, because those can actually help synergize your awakening consciousness.
Right, like you found something that's like maybe a limiting belief or something, a habit, an old habit that's just not working for you anymore, but it did work for you at a time, and so you have to appreciate that you did have that for a reason, to escape from something else that was hurting you. But now you recognize that, and you can actually move past that to where you're getting something, you're forming better habits, you're forming better belief systems that are gonna, help you grow spiritually and physically if you're gonna work out and stuff.
Now, what I'm hearing from Tahlya, this is obviously some sound advice for anybody out there, and people that resonate with that. Tahlya is a spiritual life coach, and that is her background. Now she's laughing because it's kind of, she's stepping up to the plate. She doesn't always feel like, she's got all that, but I think that anybody that's willing to step up to the plate and has half a brain cell and some intention behind it they can be very helpful in this field, especially if they're interested in it. And Tahlya very much definitely is.
Thanks, love.
So.
Yes, I'm a spiritual life coach.
So we're talking about just this is so we're looking at these perspectives and so the video games were fulfilling a need, and I don't think anybody that doesn't basically it's more self-centered needs versus other-centered needs, meaning you get a bigger and bigger sense of concern, and you just kind of work within that to try and be helpful. Most people are very narrow-centered, egoic, if you would, and and we're this is probably one of the big things for us to be doing on the planet is to be moving forward in this and opening up and getting past those things.
Yeah,
and
I think a lot of people are finally coming to their senses with opening up and being aware and trying to find better solutions to their issues instead of escaping.
Awesome. That's well said, and exactly the way I would see it. Now, with this specific to my situation, it was the video games, and it still is to some degree. And so maybe we'll have a podcast where we go, I just don't even have a desire for it anymore. It'd be kind of cool to actually witness that.
Yeah.
And but
I didn't even know you played video games.
Oh, I'm just terrible.
What do you play? What video game do you play?
I'm not going to tell you. It's not like it's not like a console thing. It's a PC thing.
Oh,
it's a
do you play with
dungeon type thing.
Oh.
So, like turn-based even. So it's terrible, but
do you play with other people?
Anybody. Actually, no.
I don't know.
This is my alone time,
okay.
So I go inside and I just kind of vegetate and cogitate until all the different energies that I picked up that day have left me. I think is how that rolls.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think I can accomplish that through meditation, of course, and then continue to be helpful to people. Because when I get sucked into a video game, I can disappear, and I don't really want that anymore.
But like replacing video games with meditation is awesome, but I think it would be really hard.
So far, you're right.
I mean, like, why don't we take...
I'll take the easy path, please.
Baby steps, though. Like, you're already doing something.
Sure.
You want something that's meditative. Like, have you tried yoga? Or, what I want to do is, what is it called? Qigong? Is that what it's called?
I did one thing at Unity Church.
Qigong?
Right when I first got into town. This is like 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
I think that's so beautiful. And I think it's like meditative dancing with like the movements. Like you see those people in the park that, and like some of them are older, but they're so cute and they're all beautiful and they're all doing like the same like wave-like motions and they all know, it's just like...
I can actually feel that coming from you.
Like looking at that, but yeah, and like you actually are aware of the energy. Like when you're picking up the energy, you're like aware of the energy rising. It's so cool. So just looking at those people like gives me the chills sometimes. I want to try it. So that would be something that I would recommend, for maybe you to do. Not necessarily as pretty as that or whatever.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to take her recommendation right there, folks, because... You know what, when I did this one thing about 10 or 11 years ago, and it was probably Source, if you to quote Wayne Dyer, it was probably Source trying to get me to, bite on that one, and I was like, no, I want samsara over here. I want to suffer more, please. And
it's so easy to stay in your comfort, though. I think that is such a big deal for people.
We're going to call it the discomfort zone because it's not that comfortable. I mean,
But that's the thing. Like you had that like awareness of like, hey, this is not working in my life. There are so many people that don't understand why they're unhappy because they're comfortable in that discomfort because they're stagnant and they're afraid of change and they don't want to start something new because either they make excuses, they're too old, or, like they know about this, or, it's changed too much and, they can't catch up, or whatever their excuse is. I think it's really sad sometimes to see these people with so much potential and they're just kind of staying in their little box.
Okay, so the way that translates to the guy that was interacting with the devil last night is that these people are literally plugged into the matrix.
Yeah.
They're being slurped off of.
Possibly.
And that which is doing the slurping, turn right back around and giving them excuses not to move forward on the path.
Well, and we're talking about mass consciousness here. These are the people that actually run the world, and they don't even know it, which is the problem.
Right. I mean, Abraham Hicks, she's like, hey, you guys got it right in your hands. You can take care of all this in a second. It would just be so fast changed if you would just wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we just need more people to wake up, because the sooner they're going to wake up and the sooner they understand that they can control their thoughts and that they can control the vibrational state of their auras and stuff to make this world a better place, the sooner we can have a freaking utopia on Earth.
Yeah, but
finally.
If you're totally, I love that, by the way. But, all right, so, so just to go back on that is like, let's say you're cruising down the road in your car, and you it's a really long trip, and then you just start going off, and then you start telling yourself, wake up, you got the window down and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally you almost hit like another car or something, and you're scared, and guess what? You're awake now.
Right.
So we're seeing a fractal of consciousness here. So people are going to need to be really close to dying in a way before they will wake up.
I think after this past presidential election and the new year coming in, I really, really think that that's kind of what the mass consciousness has decided. And that's actually the fastest way to being awakened, is having that near-death experience or that shock into, oh my gosh, I have to change something. Because we're, again, like I said, the comfort. Like, we're just too comfortable in our,
Notice we're the bourgeoisie of the, North American scum. I think what's the name of that group? MGMT, is it? No. No, that's
LCD
sound system. Yeah. We've just become this, these, we're so spoiled here.
Well, but we're going to be shaken up. I mean, I think the next 4 years are going to be pretty big. And this is just,
maybe the next month.
Maybe the next month, yeah. So either way.
This is early January 2017.
But it'll be interesting to watch it all unfold and see what will happen.
I don't want to get into that because I'm really enjoying our
Let's
spiritual stuff.
devil.
I just don't want to get on to the which government's doing and what to whom and who the liars is. The liar is totally present in all of this.
All right, no, we're not going to get into this because I don't get into the politics stuff.
That's exactly what I'm not. No, sorry. No, I'm trying to look. She's so ready for me to start talking politics right now. Look at her. Just go right into the defensive show. I just got done saying, no, I don't want to go there.
Good. All right.
But I just wanted to comment on spiritual qualities of where we were kind of going. And it's not about, this quality of lying or deceit or deception. I mean, in order for you to really actually have the Leela game is to deceive yourself.
What is the Leela game?
The Leela game is the old Hindu, the Vedas. Leela is the game. Once there's more than one thing, then there's thousands of things. And so Leela is a game of all those separate qualities. And so you have to invite illusion right from the beginning to actually be playing this game. So when Harry Potter comes on and throws his little spells on you, you're going to just kind of, oh yeah, I get that. And, well, meanwhile, then finally, and I'm trying to think of who I'm trying to speak about, Alan Watts.
Oh.
You're sneaking up on yourself and saying, boo! And, it's like, well, okay, anytime now, let's get this done with, sort of a feeling. It's time for maybe that awakening to really start occurring.
But I feel like we shouldn't have to wait for something to wake us up. Like, our responsibility, our main purpose, I feel, at least for my calling, is to awaken to the highest potential that we have for ourselves as human beings,
And I love that idea, but when you started off, you said, I don't want to wait for it, and I believe that is very much so. We are not waiting for it. We are actively trying to avoid it.
Well,
And that's that idea. And so when the shake-up happens,
don't think
now we just go,
but is it
oh, turning for home now.
is it consciously, like,
Well, it's unconscious.
no, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So,
Sure.
like, we're not, I think that if people knew that they were trying to escape more, then I feel like at least some people would be like, oh, I shouldn't be doing, like, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. I need to be going towards my dreams. I need to be fulfilling, my spirit and fulfilling what I need to be doing in this life. But I think that because it's subconscious and people aren't aware of it, like I said, that's the first step, is becoming aware of all the stuff that's holding you back from your potential.
Or maybe even what I hear in what you're trying to say or saying is there is this quality when you become quiet enough and look inward enough that says, yeah, I want to go home. I want the highest spiritual capacity to be realized here in this body and in this time and place. And what I saw or what I heard from you was that's when you really, you kind of start looking within, and then all of a sudden you find that it's this sense of, yeah, there's this big push for something more than this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that came to me when I was listening to.
Definitely. Well, so I want to get back to the devil thing and how you felt good about it. So talk about that.
Well, so here I was, and I noticed these feelings in myself, and then I recognized that the perspective that I had taken was one of, you're not part of me. Like, kind of looking at these feelings and just
objectively, right? Like putting them out there.
Right. And when I recognized that, I go, now all this scripture and everything I've studied through the years, you're looking at literally what I would say the ancients termed as the devil.
Okay.
This is a quality of consciousness, and it's really, if you want to get, it's ascending pathway versus descending pathway. It's pretty much how you get all these dynamics started. And then it spins out of control from there, and then you get this beautiful fractal pattern. And next thing you know, you have this wonderful mosaic we call the cosmos with a capital C.
Okay, so I guess the final thoughts on this conversation would have to be that I think we're talking a lot about shadow work, and we're talking a lot about recognizing the bad stuff in us and then changing it, but in small increments. That way we're not super uncomfortable, and we don't fall back into our old habits.
So the big thing is skillful means.
Yeah. And just being creative and having fun with life and not, necessarily beating ourselves up when we see the darker sides of ourselves or the devil outside of us, but
Certainly.
Also in us.
Certainly. And, with that devil guy, we'll have to go into that one on our next show, but I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. And
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.